So, you know, what I could do, it was easy. There was no threat to me doing concerts or talking to politicians. What this woman did was exactly what I was talking about. She just wouldn't accept the lies, the horror, the torture, the police brutality of her home country in the Philippines. And she insisted on telling the truth. And the truth is the most powerful weapon in the end that we as individuals can summon to our cause. And the result, of course, was that ultimately the dictators failed. They always do. They're weak. They need bludgeons. They need guns. They need faceless police. They need torture to sustain themselves. But they don't come up against women like Maria Ressa, who decided she wasn't going to put up with that she would just keep telling the truth online, offline, in speeches, and they tried to stop her, and they tried to bring her to court, and they tried to put her in jail, and they didn't succeed. And it was a wonderful thing. Sometimes the Nobel Prize gets it wrong, but boy, were they right to award this woman their Nobel Prize, because it wasn't necessarily for journalism. It was for not being cowed, not being bowed, for speaking the truth. She got a prize for being truthful, for speaking truth unto power until they fell. Ladies and gentlemen, Maria Ressa.
So, like, the first thing I got to do is take a photo of you. First of all, thank you, Bob. Don't forget Maria. Last night, well, let me give a word, a phrase to describe what Bob was talking about, right? What battle are we in right now? And because I'm an optimist, I was choosing between an information Armageddon or an information apocalypse. We are in an information Armageddon, because an apocalypse means the battle is over. And look, Bob began that battle a long time ago. We're in today, the critical moment, an information Armageddon. And that requires all of us. So last night we had the flag ceremony, and I guess I'm glad I can see you. Flags are one way that we can identify kind of who we are, but another way is generations. And I would just love to see, you know, how we're divided in the room by generations. Raise your hand if you're a baby boomer. Wow, this is, okay. I'm the end of the baby boomer. Millennials. Yeah, cool. Gen Z. And Gen Alpha. Okay, millennials and Gen Zs. That's really important, and that's important for the battle. So look, it is fitting that we're in Munich, because it's a city that understands what it means to rebuild from the rubble, to confront a painful past, and to choose courage over comfort to create a better future. That's the information Armageddon we're in. When we created Rappler this would have been around 2011, we rolled it out in 2012, my co-founders and I were in our late 40s. But we knew what we didn't know. So we hired the smartest 20-somethings we could find. That was the secret for Rappler's creation, the lessons that we learned from our youth. from students who protested when I was first arrested, that was 2019, from reporters, the millennial reporters, who kept telling the truth even as they were threatened, right? Fear can do incredible things, as you've seen all around the world. From community organizers who built networks of trust when institutions failed them. Today, I want to introduce you to one of our young leaders. I'm gonna ask her to stand up. Pia Renada. Pia Renada Robles. She's short like me, so, you know, nasan ka? You up in the back. Okay. She's standing. Stay standing. You know, I wanna tell you about Pia because for 6 years, she covered the Duterte administration at the White House, our White House, Malacanang Palace. So she was our palace reporter. She stood in press conferences where the president cursed journalists. She stood up for another reporter who was attacked by our president. No one else stood up for her, but she did. I was so proud of her courage. She documented extrajudicial killings, reported on a drug war that claimed thousands of lives, and faced constant online violence. If you're online, you know it's gone beyond harassment. It is violent. And in 2018, her press credentials were revoked. It was an act meant to silence not just her, but all journalists who dared to ask difficult questions. But here's what they didn't understand, right? You can ban a journalist from the palace, but you can't ban the truth from reaching the people. Pia didn't stop. She reported from outside the gates. In some ways, some of her reports became even better because she worked with the people inside. She found new ways to reach communities. She studied disinformation at Stanford as a Knight Fellow, and today, as Rappler's community lead, she's pioneering something revolutionary. Journalism that doesn't just inform, but empowers communities to act. This is the, yeah, please. Sorry. I'm gonna try to, can I help? Can I bring this down a little bit more? See, this is what happens when you're short.
I think it was there, but last night, but I don't know where this one is. Here we go.
Stage.
Oh, yay! Great. Ah, thank you!
Yay! Right,
Oh
David.
my God, now I can really see you. Thank you, thank you. Great. So that is the power of one young world. Let me say this once again. We are living through an information Armageddon. It is a battle for facts, for information integrity. That is what the UN calls it, right? When you can't tell fact from fiction. The data is stark. In 2018, MIT said that lies spread 6 times faster on social media. Today, with generative AI, and I'm sure you have all tried this, it is exponentially worse. The enshittification of the internet is full steam ahead, right? Fraud, scams. We're not just fighting disinformation anymore. We're fighting an entire ecosystem designed to manipulate human behavior, to manipulate us, you, for profit and power. This year's One Young World Global Consultation process revealed something unprecedented. For the first time, you young leaders see nuclear war as a greater threat than the climate crisis. In January, the doomsday clock stands at 89 seconds to midnight. And the new time clock will come again in January, and it will get smaller and shorter. 89 seconds as of January. So why are we here? And here are the 3 sentences I've kept saying for almost a decade. Without facts, you can't have truth. Without truth, you can't have trust. Without these 3, we don't have a shared reality. We can't solve climate change, ensure educational access, build circular economies, or prevent hate crimes. Those are the 5 priorities you've chosen for this summit. We can't have electoral integrity, journalism. We can't have democracy. Information integrity is the mother of all battles. We win that, we win everything. But if we lose that, we lose everything. So how do we win? I'm going to give you 3 lists of 3s. So track them down, right? I have 3 lists of 3s. I like the number 3. The first list is lessons from my country, from our country. We have our young leaders here. 3 lessons from the Philippines. Second, a battle plan for your generation. And finally, an action plan for you. So let's start. The Philippines has become an unlikely laboratory for both democracy's destruction and its renewal. The book I wrote in 2022, How to Stand Up to a Dictator, it's 2025, right? It's number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list. So people are looking, right? So let me summarize in 3 points the lessons we learned from the trenches in the Philippines. In 2016, we documented how Duterte's digital army weaponized social media. They spread lies, they incited hatred, they dehumanized entire communities. The result? Nearly 30,000 people killed in a brutal drug war, according to human rights activists. The real number of people killed? We don't know, right? Journalists, lawyers, and judges murdered. More lawyers and judges murdered than journalists. Democracy eroded at the cellular level, because if you can be manipulated, then how do we have electoral integrity? But here's the truth that they do not want you to know. That same president who tried to jail me was arrested in March and is now detained at The Hague, awaiting trial for crimes against humanity. We don't know what will happen, but that gives everyone hope to fight for your rights, because impunity ends. Bob said it, right? Impunity ends. Lesson 2, technology's design determines our fate. Technology's design determines our fate. Algorithms reward outrage over empathy. They spread fear, anger, and hate faster than hope, truth, and compassion. This isn't a bug. It's the business model. It is the design. At Rappler, we refuse to accept this as inevitable. When governments and big tech both failed to protect the public online, we did something radical. Little Rappler built an alternative, a public interest tech stack. We created a chat app using open source protocols, a matrix federation that allows real people to talk to real people without manipulation. We stress tested it during our 2025 elections. We proved that the future of news is a federated protocol where trust, not algorithms, connects us. Lesson 3. You've heard this over and over, and I'm going to twist it slightly. Young people are not the future. You are the present. The 5 Rappler One Young Word scholars attending this summit with me and Pia embody this truth. You embody this. You're not waiting for permission. You're not asking for seats at the table. You are building new tables. Pia Renada is now leading our community engagement work, turning passive news consumers into active citizens. That's our question, right? What does civic engagement look like in the age of exponential lies? She's organizing voter empowerment roadshows, fact-checking workshops, and community journalist training across the Philippines. This is what leadership looks like in 2025. This is what moves democracy from hell to purgatory. I'd say the Philippines and Brazil, we moved from hell to purgatory together, but Brazil has elections next year, so be careful. But it moves. You move to hope. Hope isn't something that you just make up. I think hope comes from action. When you act, you build hope, because that action changes your world. So let me repeat those three again. Online violence is real-world violence. If you are a woman, LGBTQ+, if you're an ethnic minority, if you are from the global south, you know this, right? We have to be careful. Online violence is real-world violence. Technology's design determines our fate, and young people are the now, are the present. Now, let's go to the battle plans for your generation. It is creative destruction. And we got to stop moaning the destruction and begin to create. The three battle plans, and they're not from theory, but from surviving attacks, winning cases, and building communities of action. Battle plan 1, so this is second one. Battle plan 1, end big tech impunity through global accountability. The world is here, right? Global accountability. We need binding international standards for information integrity, just as we have for nuclear weapons and climate change. Germany knows this with GDPR. The EU rolled out the Digital Services Act, the Digital Markets Act. These all need to be pushed out. But here are two new initiatives. The Vatican Declaration. I come from Asia's largest Roman Catholic nation. Percolated under Pope Francis and finalized under Pope Leo, we signed in September demanding AI remain under human control with clear accountability mechanisms. 2, the global call for AI red lines. If you haven't signed on, it's redlines.ai. More than 200 of us launched this at the UN General Assembly. We asked governments to establish clear international boundaries, defining what AI should never be allowed to do. And at the first UN meeting to pick this up, no nation opposed it. Everyone supported it, including China. These aren't abstract principles, they're urgent necessities, because regulating technology isn't a free speech issue, it's about public safety. Battle Plan 2, build alternative infrastructure for trust. Don't just criticize the system, build a better one. Here's what circular economy movement understands. This is what responsible technology advocates practice. My elevator pitch for Rappler in 2011 was, we build communities of action and the food we feed them is journalism. That's how we survived. Our communities aren't passive audiences, they're active citizens collaborating with journalists to hold power accountable by defining what civic engagement looks like today. We need an infrastructure for democracy. Our chat app. You can do this in your countries, your sectors, your movements. Our code is open source, end-to-end encrypted, and decentralized. Help us build the trust infrastructure that governments and corporations failed to create. 3, Battle Plan 3, form coalitions that cross every boundary. The authoritarian playbook is global. Our response must be too. Here's some examples of what works. More than 3/4 of the United Nations members now recognize Palestinian statehood, showing international law can move forward despite impunity. More than 3/4. At the UN, 20 nations pledged to strengthen democratic institutions and fight for information integrity, with more than 40 Nobel laureates, including me and the Dalai Lama, supporting this multilateral initiative from Brazil, Chile, from Latin America, and the Global South. And finally, just last week, at the Paris Peace Forum, the International Fund for Public Interest Media, which I co-chair, led the way for nearly 30 countries to adopt the Paris Declaration on Multilateral Action for Information Integrity and Independent Media. That acknowledges the need to fund access to reliable information as a global public good. It's a true multilateral alliance between the global North and the global South, AKA the global majority. Diversity is our superpower. You here today over 2,200 young leaders from 190 plus countries. This is a network you need to use. Build bridges across sectors. Peace and security advocates. Work with circular economy innovators, education champions. Collaborate with anti-hate activists, responsible technology builders, partner with climate leaders. Every challenge you're addressing here is connected by the information ecosystem that either enables or prevents progress. I'm over time, so I'm going to post the last 3 lessons for you. That's really bad, right? Because those are the lessons you need. Yes? Kate says I can go. All right. So thank you, Kate, the boss.
You're too important.
I know that the world can be discouraging. You know, 72% of the world now lives under authoritarian rule, and the threats feel overwhelming. Before I left Manila, a 19-year-old child of a friend of mine committed suicide, partly enabled by tech. Be careful of the tech you're in. I know we are in danger, but I also know this. In 2019, in about 14 months, Duterte filed 11 criminal charges against me. It took a while, but we've now won 10 of the 11 cases. I have one left at the Supreme Court. Fight for your rights before you lose them. Because when you lose your rights, it takes far longer and uses far more agency to claw them back. That's why you need to stand together now. Here's something else I learned during that time. We're not alone. Every time I was arrested, crowdfunding spiked, though I kept warning our sales team that this is not a sustainable business model. Communities of action emerged. Young journalists like Pia found new ways to tell the truth, and slowly, painfully, rule of law prevailed, right? It comes with sacrifice. And that's the question in my book. What are you willing to sacrifice for the truth? Okay, here's the last one, because we are in a battle, not just the information Armageddon, but this is a battle for the soul of humanity. In every major world religion, the real battle isn't out there, it's in you, right? It's in your conscience, your own private jihad. The question isn't whether technology will change us, it already has. The question for you is, will we let it destroy our humanity, our democracies, your future? Or will we harness it to build the world we want? We are not victims of these systems. You are agents of change who can build better ones. And here's what I believe. The fight for facts is the fight for freedom. The fight for truth is the fight for justice. I promise, Kate, here's the last 3 points. A few months ago, I spoke in Warsaw, a city that knows the price of freedom. I called for a new Warsaw uprising, not with weapons, but with ideals and ideas. Not with bullets, but with bites. Not in the streets, but in the digital spaces where democracy lives or dies. Today, here in Munich, a city that confronted its darkest history and chose transformation, please come with the same courage. This is your Munich moment. Munich taught the world that facing hard truths is the first step to healing. that rebuilding requires both remembering and reimagining. That democracy is not just a destination, but a daily choice. Here are the last 3 points for you. First, silence is complicity. Not acting, inaction is a choice. We can't be neutral, right, when you have to make a choice aligned with your values. Second, laws are only as good as the lawmakers and judges who fight the 3 C's: corrupt, coerce, co-opt, for power and money. Be the leaders who refuse to be bought, intimidated, or corrupted. Third, radical collaboration. Join these global movements. You're here at One Young World: information integrity, circular economy, educational access, peace, and anti-hate. Join forces across borders and sectors. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. I'll say it one last time. Information integrity is the mother of all battles. We win that, we win everything. We lose that, we lose everything. So please, choose courage over comfort, facts over fiction, hope over fear. It's time for you to create, to build better. From the Philippines to Munich, from the trenches to the summit, from surviving to thriving. This is your moment. Act now, before it's too late. Thank you.
Come on. History.